Hello, sorry I couldn't meet with you, but I think I've done this with like 20 of your classmates, so I think I've got it down. But this is just an opening of a conversation. So as you work on this paper, the extra credit is due what, the 8th? So tomorrow, but after that you're still going to be working on the paper, right? So if we don't quite get what you were looking for, let me know and we can keep on working on it. I mean, that's my job. I've shown three things to people, and I'm going to do that same framework with you. And I think this topic is great because it's so expansive and it's been going on for thousands of years. I think the record was that India, and it was ancient India, came up with the first animal rights laws way back, like 2000 something years ago. I'll have to look that up. But so the idea has been around for a long time. And so, how do we work with that is what I'll talk about today. So, the three things I'm going to show you is we're going to start big with an advanced search in Google. And I'm going to show you some tips and tricks for getting the pro and con and the debate and some of the rhetoric. And maybe we can start to brainstorm how we would go into scholarship. And then, when you go in, the second thing is the library catalog, which is what you see here. And that's how do we find out which discipline is this being written in? Is it going to be in sociology? Is it going to be humanities? Are they going to be looking at it in the medical professions where they do a lot of animal testing? Um, and or is it going to be like in the agricultural industry? I hadn't thought about that one. So then the third one is we're going to go into applied databases where you're in control of exactly what focus that you're interested in. And then you'll find lots of scholarly, high level, high impact articles, and we'll go from there. So let's go to Google. And I apologize for the loud typing. My microphone is like embedded in my keyboard. I don't know who thought that was going to be a good idea. So when you go to Google, there's billions of things out there. It searches for them really fast. I don't know why they keep that there. Like it doesn't matter anymore because there's so much stuff, you need help curating it. And so what Google does is it looks at your cookies and it looks at your history, it looks at where your IP address is. So it'll know where you're at, so you won't get stuff in Korean or Portuguese. You'll get stuff in English or whatever country you're in. And you can change those settings just by visiting particular sites, and then it'll alter your cookies, and it's just chaos. I had a friend once who went to Korea at the Utah Asia campus, and apparently beef is really hard to get. So hamburgers are really hard to find. So she was looking for a Burger King one day in Korea. And then when she came back to the United States, there was still that little cookie that said, "Hey, you're looking for Burger King in Korea." And it sent her a bunch of Korean language ads looking for Burger King. It was so cool. How do we control that? Animal rights. So you could just do a search for this and it'd be like chaos. But we could do a colon and that will narrow it down. So we could do animal rights, animal testing, animal welfare. You can see some of these different things that are going on. When you do a colon, you can put in a context. So the animal rights is the context. Everything after the colon is now searching in the context of animal rights. So you could do debate. And there's going to be a lot of political action groups that throw ads in here. There's a little bit of scholarly articles, animal rights debate from encyclopedia.com. How do you get more detailed? You could go into animal rights law and have that be the context for the debate. You could go into animal rights policy. And you could also change, let's see, animal rights. You could even do animal rights debate and then go and type in policy on that side. So there's lots of different ways of contextualizing it and doing that advanced search. For something like this, if you had an example, animal rights, medical testing, and you could say for skin, because I remember back in the 70s they would test cosmetics on rabbits, and it was horrible. But you could have like a very specific context and then say policy. And all of a sudden, oh, here's cosmetics testing. Well, I'll be darned. There was no such thing as a policy from the Federal Food and Drug Administration, but now there is. Oh, by the way, the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, oversees animal welfare in the United States, because before there was animal welfare groups, there was like farms and things like that, that fell under food and agriculture. But now zoos, as well as farms, as well as all sorts of industries related to animals, fall under the FDA. In case you're wondering about that. Don't ask me how I know. I'm a trivia person. I don't even know how I know that one. Okay, so we have some ideas. And what we can do in the catalog is we can take some of those keywords and we could start to focus more on maybe a particular industry, a particular practice, or a particular discipline like medicine. So let's go to advanced search. And we could also do multiple concepts in the same search. So if I was looking for animal rights and animal testing, I can put that animal rights or animal testing. So if I don't know which concept I'm looking for, I can put an or in between and it will look for one, and then after it gives me those results, it'll give me all the results for the second one. So it's kind of like a double hit. What do we get when we do advanced search? We could go in by year, language, all sorts of things. But I'm going to start with this just to show you some techniques for narrowing it down. First of all, well, I'll do the search first and show the example. We're going to get way too many. 181,000 is too much to go through, right? Oh, animal welfare. We have another one. Let's see if we can go beyond 200,000. 400,000. Animal welfare is a good keyword. How do we start to narrow this down to the things where it's not just like a side thing, but it's the main topic? You can say, well, show me just the stuff where this is like the main subject of the thing I'm looking at. Or we could say, I only want this to be in the title. Ooh, and I apologize for the fan. That's probably really noisy too. So now I only want to look for those things in the title because I want it to be the most important thing. So we'll go from 400,000 down to 20,000. That's one of the ways where it's an advanced search where you can narrow down. Now, let's go, and you can add more keywords. So you can see there's some books and things like that. But let's go to the sorting options down the side. And if you go to subject, these are the things where the author has put in like keywords and subjects. What you can do here is out of all the 20,000 things, this is the subjects in order of popularity. So you could say there's 7,000 things with this. But you could go through and you can see, do I want a scholarly article on animal rights movement? Yeah, probably. Animal experimentation, there's a second article. And you could go into these major fields of study: agriculture, animal protection, veterinary services, wildlife conservation. These are all the major topics that show up with that. Another way you could get around that and narrow it down is, okay, you could look at historical stuff, or you could come up and see what's going on. So during COVID, there was a lot of people, including myself, that hung out with my dogs. Let's see, can you see? There's Socks. There's Charlie. And people talked about animal welfare, like what happens when we come back from COVID. So let's narrow our creation date to 2020. And let's see what's been going on since the pandemic. Now there's just 2,000 results. So we can look at the moral, ethical, philosophical, policy, law, intentions, attitudes, and things like that from a whole long scope of time. And we can also see what's going on right now. What are the top things? What matters? What exists? What's important right now? So now we got down to 2000. This one might work really well. And also, you could look at the books. I think those might be good. You can also click down to just peer-reviewed journals over here. And I could end this video right now and that would be, you'd be set. But let me show you a couple other things. Isn't that cool? So you could see what's going on right now. You could even just narrow down to like the last year and get, oh, I didn't think about dietary. So veganism, vegetarianism, all sorts of different things. You could also look at specific animals. Are you looking at like parrots that are being smuggled into the United States? Are you looking at wildlife that's being improperly cared for off in maybe like a wildlife preserve? Is there like a law that changed that affected something else? Is it like the mink? Is it the clothing industry? There's all sorts of different angles you could approach from that way as well. You could look at the environment and the effect of open range cattle farming, all sorts of stuff like that. But let's take this top keyword and whatever you typed in there, you could just, when you add a keyword, that it does the search all over again. But then all of a sudden it's one of the most important things. How consumers confuse animal rights with animal welfare. So this is good, but the more keywords you put in. Let's go and try that in a database. Once you get a feel for the disciplines you're interested in, maybe agriculture, maybe engineering, food science, where they're coming up with Beyond Burgers, which are amazing, by the way, if you've never had one. They sell them at Crown Burger, and I had one. It was just like amazing. But so here's the things you should know about this. If you know the name of a database, if somebody recommends one, that's good. I'm going to recommend a couple for you. But you can also go through the major disciplines on our university campus. And you could say, oh, I'm only interested in agriculture, or I'm only interested in ethics. And so you could go into, this is the ag database. We don't have a strong ag program here because it's other schools that have that, like Utah State. So if this one turns it to be a little bit of a dud, that might be why. But let's see what the ag scholarship talks about. No. If you're familiar with the EBSCO databases, this looks exactly like them. And how you can tell where you are is you just see, you're just in Agricola. Let's go to advanced search. And let's search for that same title one. Oh, by the way, why did I stick it in quotes? It's to stick the keywords together so you don't get animal here and testing there. You want animal and testing stuck together with the quotes. I'm going to go into the title again. Now we're only in agriculture, so there's going to be some politics, policy, practical things, but it's only in agriculture. And this one has a peer-reviewed checkbox too, and this one also has dates, a date range. Oh, it goes back to 1908. Back to 1971. What have you done for me lately, Agricola? I'll look at the last 5 years. Ooh, culling. That's like the wild horse. They've tried to cull the wild horses in Utah from time to time, as well as the burros and things like that. You start to learn these things living in Utah for a while, that there's a lot going on, even in a desert. So look at all these different things going on. How do you go through those? Do you remember when we looked at the subject before? You can do that again, and there's all sorts of different things to go through with that. And so wend your way through and see how it works. By the way, if you see an article you like, You click on the title, and there's several things you can do in most of these databases. One, there's a citation generator right here, so you don't have to know how to do MLA style. They're usually not perfect, but pretty good. Two, if you want to get the full text, you have to do like this external link icon or view it, or you have to click on PDF full text. When you click on a view it button, it'll send you to the catalog and it'll say, here's a list of databases that it might be in. I should have something to say while it's thinking. And right here in the oven, it's like a food show. So under the yellow bar, here's where it is. When you click on that, it should give you the article that you originally started out with. If you run into trouble with that, just send me the citation. I'll track it down for you. It's not necessarily good all the time. Sometimes it doesn't work. Okay. So there's one scholarly article, but you can find several to fulfill the extra credit assignment. What are other databases I would recommend? So that one with agriculture, that's going to be good. Agricola. And again, you can go by subject. Another one that I highly recommend is under the letter P, and it's called PAIS. This is policy around the world, and this would be local areas, like cities, towns, up to states and whole countries, and it's around the world. So if anyone is experimenting with things, they will give you the criteria of why they did it and what they hope to achieve by making a law or a policy. So that one would be, I think, really useful because it would have a lot of the practical elements of it. Let's see, one last one. So we got Agricola, we got PAIS. You could go into who's doing the testing, or what's the industry that's working with animals. So if you wanted to, you could go into medicine if you're interested in the medical testing. Agriculture is that one. You could also go into just a general business. This one might be good because this might have the opposite point of view. This is from the business perspective. So these are the bankers that are loaning money to people to do high density feedlots or making new chicken or what have you. So that might be good to have that side. So PAIS might be like the sympathetic side, and Business Source Premier might be the cold. Well, we're going to do it this way because it's cost effective. Sustainability is economic, so the Business Source Premier, social, so maybe the PAIS, and environmental. So you could look at an environmental database too. But let me know how it goes. I'm happy to help. Thanks for watching. See you later.